Hello, first grade. Today we're going to read Flat Stanley's Worldwide Adventures. After reading, retell what you've read to a friend. Chapter 1, Unlucky Day. The fact that Stanley Lambchop was flat did not mean he enjoyed being treated like a poster. Stanley trudged back and forth outside the school auditorium with two giant pieces of cardboard covering the front and back of his body. Both sides read, "The Flying Chinese Wonders, a Chinese New Year performance for the whole community." People streamed inside. A beefy boy from Stanley's class called out, "Look, it's the poster boy for flat kids." Stanley grimaced. He hoped no one else would notice him. "Well, hello there, Stanley Lambchop." It was Dr. Dan, whom Stanley had visited just after he was flattened. It wasn't long ago that he'd woken up to find that his bulletin board had fallen on him in the middle of the night. "Helping out with the big performance, are we? Well, good for you for making positive use of an unusual condition." How embarrassing, Stanley thought. After Dr. Dan left to take his seat, Stanley's family appeared. "My little star!" squealed his mother, Harriet Lambchop. Stanley tried to smile as she kissed the edge of his head. His little brother Arthur rolled his eyes. "He's not even in the show, Mom." "Now, Arthur," Mrs. Lambchop said, "those behind the scenes are just as important as those on stage." "And nobody is behind the scenes like our Stanley," Mr. Lambchop winked. Stanley sighed. He'd always liked being in plays. Now all anyone wanted him to do was move the sets, because his shape made him hard to see when he crossed the stage. "I'm not even moving scenery today," Stanley grumbled. "Why not?" asked Mr. Lambchop. "Are you in charge of the giant pandas?" said Mrs. Lambchop hopefully. "They have always been my favorite wonders from China." "No," Stanley pouted. "There aren't any pandas. The spotlight blew a fuse, so..." He held up a giant flashlight from behind his poster. "I have to hang upside down from the ceiling with this." "Hey, Stanley," called his friend Carlos, who lived next door to the Lambchops. "Don't break a leg." Stanley's mother chuckled. "He means break a leg, dear. That's a common figure of speech in the theater. It means good luck." Harriet Lambchop took great interest in the proper use of the English language. "I don't think so, Mom," said Arthur. "I think Carlos meant don't fall from the ceiling and break your leg." "Be quiet, Arthur," huffed Stanley. Once everyone was seated, Stanley took his place. He hung with his lower body rolled around a bar high up over the crowd. "It's not fair," he thought. "Why do I have to save the day anytime somebody needs something flat or flexible?" On the other hand, Stanley's new shape allowed him to do lots of fun and exciting things, like fit between the walls of an Egyptian pyramid and be a cape in a Mexican bullfight. On the other hand, he was often asked to do uncomfortable, humiliating, and boring things that would never be expected of a rounded person. For instance, he was rolled and tied to the back of a horse in South Dakota and forced to ride with baggage in the cargo of an airplane to Africa. Stanley didn't want to hang high in the air holding a heavy flashlight. He didn't even know what to expect on stage. The performers had arrived only moments before the show was about to begin. The lights went down. With a sigh, Stanley lifted his flashlight and flicked it on as the curtains squeaked open. In the center of the bare stage stood the teenage boy and girl. They wore matching red outfits. Okay, scholars, that's it for today. It's time to go and retell to a friend.